Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Join me up in the slate quarries, as you can see. Really nice day actually. Just on a couple of warm-up routes, just to get moving actually. Some easy things over there, a 6A and a 6A plus. Haven't done much climbing this week, so nice to just move around a little bit. The spot I'm at here is called the Sidings. You can just see the beast catching flies down there. I've tied him up because there are big drops here. The Sidings is quite a popular spot. You can see there's a bit of art there. Call it art, I'm not sure what it is really. Something like art. There's loads of nice slabby routes here that are kind of in the 5s, low 6s kind of thing. It's a beaut spot up in the slate. I love it. There's so much history and stuff. Some people call it ugly. I think it's amazing though. I think it's beautiful. You look down there, all this like post-industrial stuff. The water is like glistening in the sun. All the hills in the background. Don't get me wrong, it's a massive scar in some respects, isn't it? But it's here now. It's been here a long time. I can see the beauty in it for sure. I've done a route here before that tops out onto those. You pull up on the rail track slabs, the rail track lines after you've finished, which gives quite an interesting end to a route actually. That was an E3 called Off the Beaten Track, E3 5C. Alex has just dabbed in to another one, the name I forget, I'll flash it up maybe, but E3 6A, not been on it before, looks really good. The video is something like when trad isn't trad, because there's a lot of this in the slate quarries where it's bolted but it gets a trad grade. Haven't been on it. I've looked down, there's a lot of nice shiny bolts, but I suspect they're spaced, which is why it gets the trad grade. I'd expect the climbing to be 6B-ish, as in, you know, French 6B if it's a sport route, at that kind of grade, which is within my comfort zone, so a few run-outs shouldn't be too bad, but I thought it'd be an interesting one to do and have a chat about. See me wearing my helmet already. Slate quarries, look how much like rubbish there is that falls down. Earlier, excuse me, choking, there were some goats up here and they knocked some sizable rocks down to about here. They like went, the rocks are in like proper free fall, size of a footballish, like only a few of them. There's been some people sat there earlier flying a drone and stuff. Doesn't matter if you're wearing a helmet, to be honest, those things would have flipping done some damage, but there's a lot of people around generally in the quarries, and a lot of goats and random stuff, and just slate is a bit of a snappy rock, so I do wear a helmet quite a lot in the slate quarries, even when just cutting around at the bottom actually. Where we are here, there's a big ledge above us, it's not too bad, but this one, especially with it being space bolts, maybe there's a chance of swinging around and stuff like that. It's kind of why not wear a helmet really. So you'll join me in a second, hopefully climbing the route, having a nice time, and then reflecting upon the kind of the trad stroke sport ethic of the slate quarries. Not a super instructional video, but I thought it might be of interest. Nice one. Oh, I'm a sweaty mess at the top now. Literally just topped out. I'm going to belay Alex up it in a second, but thought I'd chat to camera while I'm still sweating, and well, worked me a little bit, I guess. First impressions without having reflected too much. 6B plus sport route, something like that. They feel space though, those bolts. Does not feel like a sport route. And then at the very top, there's a sting in the tail on that one. Like I say, I'll talk to the camera properly in a minute when I've calmed down a bit. Yeah, there's a sting in the tail. Quite skinny on the feet. The shoes I was wearing, I haven't worn a lot. Pretty comfy though, and they're nice and stiff, which is why I bought them today. My toes are in agony. There's a lot of small edges. It's really good climbing that, but I'll belay Alex up, have another chat to the camera in a minute. Well, you join me a few days later, folks. I intended to have a chat to the camera after I belayed Alex up, but for whatever reason didn't get around to it. Join me on a very, very hot day. Actually, I'm sweating just sat here. Jeans were the wrong call. The dog's panting away over there in the bushes, getting some shade. Proper heatwave weather, they're calling it in the press actually, but I'm in my usual spot just outside Clonberis looking over the lake. Lovely. It's actually been quite good to have a couple of days, a few days to reflect on the route, not because it was like, cutting edge grade for me or anything new grade wise or anything like that. Just been interesting to chat to a few people, some people that I know, other people on social media, just about the whole concept of this kind of trad climbing, sport climbing, hybrid thing that this route is. The slate quarries are an interesting place. There's trad climbing where, place all your gear as normal, nuts, cams, etc. There's proper sport routes that are complete clip-ups and nice and safe as long as you do it properly, of course. There's also this hybrid stuff, and there's very sort of grey areas in this hybrid area where I take a classic, for example, Nat Attack. It's an E1 5C in Bus Stop Quarry that's about 25 metres long, the route, but it's only got 2 bolts, and you climb to the first bolt, which is about 10 metres up. You can place a nut a bit lower down. Most people don't bother because it's kind of part of the route's history, really. You sort of clip the first bolt. It's about 10 metres, like I say. The climbing was relatively easy up to there, but a fall would, be big, but it is steady climbing. As soon as you clip the first bolt, that's when the climbing starts and it gets harder, and you've just got a few moves and you clip a second bolt, almost like sport style, really. But then you've got another 10-ish metres to the top, and the climbing gets easier and easier and easier. And would you hit the floor? No, probably not. But you'd go miles, and like I say, it is pretty steady at the top. But it's a fun route. If that was a sport route, I guess it would be, 6A-ish. It'd be a lot less memorable. It'd still be fun, but a lot less memorable. At that time, when that route would have been done, sort of sport climbing was in its infancy, and a lot of people did not like it. The whole ethics around it were certainly not agreed upon. So some people would place bolts, but perhaps they'd limit themselves to 1 or 2 per pitch of climbing, back like pegs in the Joe Brown era really. There's other routes, Slug Club Special, that's got metalwork on it. It's got like a spike sticking out of it, and it's miles up. You have to climb, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head. It gets E5 if you're on site it, I think. I have done it, but I practiced it first. And you climb up about 8-ish metres, I think, again, and it's quite tricky actually. If you fell off, you'd hurt yourself. I do know of a few people who have hurt themselves falling off before the metal spike. So that's from the quarrying times, wasn't placed by a climber. But then also at the other end, you've got almost sport climbing. So the route I did, similar to its almost neighbour that I mentioned earlier in the video, Off the Beaten Track, there's a number of bolts on them. So the one I've just done, I think, is 5 bolts, including, has it got plus the lower off, I think. The first and second bolts, quite normal, not too bad at all. Going up to the third, though, that's run out. If you dropped it going for the third clip, then you would, I don't think you'd hit the floor with a good belayer, which Alex, who's belaying me, is, but you wouldn't be far off, and the landing is horrible. It's proper jaggedy, slate, spiky rock. As I clipped the third clip on it, I said something down to Alex, I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, oh, I'm relieved to clip that. And he was like, yeah, I'm not surprised, the landing is disgusting down here, words to that effect. And he's right, it is. After that, there's a couple more bolts, and they're run out, there's space, but it's a slab, and there's no ledges. It's a steep slab, but a slab nonetheless. So you wouldn't hit anything. You'd probably just get like gravel rash on your side or something like that, but it wouldn't be too dramatic. But are they sport routes? No, they're too run out to be a sport route. If that had a sport grade and your average 6B plus leader, assuming that I am grading that about right, came along and tried to on-site it, I think they'd have a real hard time. It would not be nice at all, actually. For the sake of clarity, I had the clips in. I thought it might help a little bit because I don't really care about you know, what the grade was. I just wanted to have a nice time climbing. But the reality is that actually I couldn't clip those clips any earlier despite having them in, because you sort of have to climb to a spot where I could easily have placed the quitter anyway, so I didn't save any moves at all. But you know, make of that what you will. If that had been a 6B plus sport route, I'd have had a few grades in hand, and whilst the climbing was nice, I'm not sure how memorable it would have been. And actually, as an E3, it was really memorable. I really enjoyed it. You know, what I remember from the route are thin moves being above the bolt, you know, a bit higher than I would be on a sport route. And that's what makes it a route that is going to stick in my mind for a while. A lot of people, like on Insta, because I put a photo of it on Insta and sort of describe pretty much what I'm saying here, and some people couldn't understand how a bolted route could have a trad grade. Hopefully this video goes some way to kind of say my thoughts on it, because it's E3. Is it the same as going and doing an E3 in the past, like, I don't know, Elk Guide Direct or Memory Lane or something like that? No, absolutely not. That is more dangerous, because trad is, and I've got to fiddle my own gear in, so it's more tiring, it's more of an adventure. The one I did up there in the Slate, it's E3, but the shiny bolts, so you know, it's like, if you can get your you know, clip into there, there's no doubt in your mind that they're good. Sometimes, you know, we can say E3, it should describe, you know, how sustained the climbing is, how well protected it is, those kind of thoughts. But actually in this case, I think it's more about the experience. It was like an E3 experience. I know that's a bit of a strange concept, but that's how I look at it. Does it matter? No, it was a fun route. I really enjoyed it, and it's a memorable route, so that's what I'm going to take away from it. But I thought it'd be useful to chat through it. If you get the chance to go and do it, I thought it was quality actually. It was really good fun. Loads of climbing in the Slate, like I say, proper trad, proper sport, and this hybrid kind of stuff that someone on Facebook I think suggested we could call it, what do you say, Sprad or Trot, something like that. Good names for it actually. So go and do some climbing in there if you haven't, it's brilliant. Or even if it's like a rainy day and you're in North Wales, it's a great place to go and wander around, because historically it's rich in all the history of the slate quarries and the miners and everything. There's a museum just on the edge of Llanberis that's really interesting as well, so worth the wander around, really interesting place. I hope that's been of interest though. As always, chuck any questions in the comments below, I will get back to all of them, just takes me a while sometimes. Find us on Insta, find us on Facebook, click the like button, smash the subscribe button, use the buy me a coffee link, all those things I ask every time. All the support, massively appreciated. I'm going to keep saying that, as you know. As always though, massive thanks for watching. More videos coming up very soon.